Hi, I'm Charmaine. Welcome to the Love of Self podcast, where we delve into the emotional aspects of finding love for self. Today's topic is mental strength. When I was thinking about what mental strength really means, I came to the conclusion that it's the ability to gain understanding no matter the circumstance. It seems to me that when we have the ability to gain mental strength, to gain understanding of what's going on within us or around us, and deciphering whether or not there's a lack of understanding outside of ourselves, it can be a very difficult thing because the ego is at play. Sometimes certain displays of strength can actually be the opposite. There can be, at times, lack of understanding when we are unable to hear someone else. If there are knee-jerk reactions to every scenario that somewhat resembles a bad part of life, and we take that inner recognition and impulsively react to what we believe something to be. And I would think that if we have mental strength, we would at the very least try to see some of the outcome of the opposition. If I'm unable to see things fully, if I'm unable to allow things to truly come to pass in its own way, as opposed to my expectations based on my experience, am I mentally strong, or am I just fearful? Am I paranoid? Am I full of anxiety? If I take the time to see things through, if I take the time to see things for what they truly are, and allow the time and space for understanding, for my own in-depth understanding of what's true, even if I have an intuitive or inspective perception of whatever the energy I'm involved in at the time, my understanding of whatever this may be is my mental strength. Now, how I react to whatever this energy is, I believe is also mental strength. Usually people will see someone who doesn't tend to get worked up easily. A lot of times people will see that person as weak because they may seem quiet, they may seem unresponsive. But what if that person was examining or observing the situation to gain understanding? What if that person just has mental strength? They have the endurance within their mind to see how things unfold and analyze it within themselves without reacting immediately. I wonder, does the ego take away from our mental strength? I believe it certainly can. And I guess it depends on how you use your ego. Is that the first thing that we rely on for our self-worth? Or is it the last thing? Which one is truly mentally strong in each one of those scenarios? Do we take for granted our internal power? In other words, the emotions that are stirred up within us that we can then analyze and take an understanding of what it means for our mentality and consciousness, to the point where you're not worried about how people view you. You're not worried about if you're looked at as weak, because you're taking in the information and understanding what's true. And sure, you can't help but perceive things in only your view. You're you. Everybody is themselves. So they can only gain consciousness through their own perceptions of how they understand through their own mentality. There is an aspect that everyone only has understanding through their own consciousness. So even though you may feel that you understand, you may understand the world around you, it's still an internal process. It's still within your thinking. It may not always be the truth outside of yourself, but I think the attempt is commendable. The attempt to at least try to understand. I used to say all the time that the one thing that I always wanted and was very difficult to get was understanding. And I wanted people that surrounded me at the time to at least try to understand me. But it just seemed so difficult for a lot of people for whatever reason. It seemed like there was a lot of need for power over need for understanding. There was a lot of impatience because it takes time to understand. It takes study to understand. It takes the will to understand things. And it's not always possible. You're not always going to understand everything. But the least we can do is try. The least we can do is take the small steps toward finding our way to be conscious of something or someone or some place. What would it hurt? I'd like to thank you for taking these few moments to listen to what I have to say. I greatly, greatly appreciate you. So, I'd like to ask you, how much mental strength do you believe you have? How much understanding of yourself especially do you believe you have? Are there a lot of attempts to understand what you haven't quite grasped? I'd love to hear from you. Please comment or email theloveofselfpodcast@gmail.com. Please remember, I'm not a therapist. Also, my new book is out, Love Yourself, a book of poetry and spiritual writings for self-love, available now on bookbaby.com. Purchase link is in my Instagram bio. I wish you all peace, love, and joy, always. Until next time.